ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Jonathan Majors has been found guilty and has been fired by Marvel Studios. And ever since this happened, we've been flooded with updates and reports about what Marvel is going to do now. I was up late checking out all kinds of different reports, and I did talk to some insiders as well. Obviously, this situation is insane, but I promise you, after you watch this video, you're gonna have a pretty good idea of what's really going on behind the scenes over at Marvel right now. Okay, so first up, I wanted to say I was told by somebody that Marvel was actually surprised at the verdict in Jonathan Majors' trial. And I want to bring that up because I think that fact is actually going to make a lot of this make sense. Because we've been seeing action from Marvel Studios, right? They kind of fired Jeff Loveness. They bring in Michael Waldron months ago to essentially write the Kang Dynasty or rewrite the Kang Dynasty. And I mean, the fact that Marvel Studios really moved quickly to fire Jonathan Majors. I mean, I don't even think it was 2 hours after he literally leaves the courthouse and Marvel Studios releases an official statement and have moved on from Jonathan Majors. So it's a confusing situation, but I gotta say, I think knowing that Marvel was surprised at this verdict is important. And for my own part here, man, I actually am surprised as well. Like, from what I saw, and I wasn't following the case like super closely, but from what I was seeing, it really did feel like Jonathan Majors was gonna have all of these charges dropped. And he did get 2 of his charges dropped. And basically, guys, without getting into the weeds here, he was cleared of anything that had to do with intent, okay? So he didn't intend to hurt Jabari, but the court ruled that he was just so reckless and had this, like, history of, you know, being abusive or being reckless. They still give him some blame, and that's a charge that stuck, despite them also saying he didn't do anything to intentionally hurt her. But I mean, that's one thing, and really we can't really spend a lot of time on that. It just is what it is. He is guilty of 2 charges. Disney has fired him. Marvel is moving on. Now, in the THR article that really was like one of the first things that dropped talking about this, they lay out that Marvel has 2 choices in front of them. They could recast the Kang role, or they could pivot into another villain. And it's also important to note that in that article, they say that Marvel has actually not decided what to even do. Now, late last night, Daniel RPK dropped what he knows on his Patreon. I'm going to read what he talked about on Patreon, and I'm also going to tie it into other things that are being said. He says the Kang Dynasty was set to film in March in the UK. Waldron been hired in November to write a new draft. At that time, Majors was still attached to the script and was still very much about Kang. The idea of bringing Waldron in was to finish what he started with Loki. Despite rumors, there was no plan to replace Kang with Doom as the main villain. At best, he would be another villain in the Avengers film. If Majors had been found not guilty, they would have kept him, bad press or not, but they were left with no choice. So for now, the 5th Avengers movie is no longer called Kang Dynasty, but they could change it back. Right now, Marvel is considering their next steps. They haven't decided what to do yet. A final decision will be made soon, as they'll have to tell Waldron if he should rewrite his script from scratch or keep it as is. Now, I want to talk about what Jeff Snyder has been reporting about this situation and some other tidbits that are out there from insiders, because this is where we get some conflicting reports, some conflicting information. Jeff Snyder actually said months ago that they had changed the name of the Kang Dynasty. It was no longer going to be the Kang Dynasty. And just yesterday, he was reporting that they're going to make it Secret Wars Part 1, and they're going to make the original Secret Wars movie Secret Wars Part 2. Jeff has also been on record discussing Doctor Doom, and he said that he had heard from very good sources that Doctor Doom was always going to be the villain of the multiversal saga or of Secret Wars. This was in response to a big Variety article which was discussing the problem with Jonathan Majors for Marvel Studios and the fact that they had considered internally pivoting to Doctor Doom. The Variety article clearly says that was something they were thinking about. Now, Joanna Robinson at added to all of this at the time by talking about the fact that she had heard from very good sources that when Jeff Loveness was fired off of the Kang Dynasty, he was fired off of that movie because they were, quote unquote, moving away from the Kang story. So again, some conflicting reports here, but I think it actually all makes sense. I think it's possible that nobody's lying here. And here's the way that could be working. It is factual that Michael Waldron was hired to rewrite the Kang Dynasty. He took over that movie from Jeff Loveness. I believe Joanna Robinson when she says that a source told her they had moved Jeff off the project because they were, quote unquote, going away from Kang. But I also believe Daniel when he says that Majors was still going to be the focus of Avengers 5 and he was essentially going to be Kang. Now, the way this could be working is the fact that they were originally in the Kang Dynasty going to talk about a lot of the Kang variants. So that Council of Kang and all of these different versions of Kang, that was likely the original plan. I mean, Kang Dynasty implies that. But the ending of Loki season 2 implies that they were going away from that idea. But they were likely still going to use Jonathan Majors as a Kang variant, and this would be the Beyonder variant. This massive rumor that we've heard about for over a year that the Beyonder was going to be the main villain of Secret Wars and he was going to be played by Jonathan Majors. And in fact, a lot of people were saying that the variant of Kang the Conqueror that gets sucked into the quantum engine at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, that guy, after being in that engine or something, was going to reemerge basically as the Beyonder. So in my mind, Waldron was likely just going right to the Beyonder, skipping past all the other Kang variants and beginning a version of the Kang Dynasty that was just more focused on one particular variant. Now, when it comes to Doctor Doom, I do believe Doom was always going to play a major role in Secret Wars. I think that's what Jeff Snyder was kind of hinting at. But I do think Marvel had intended to move forward with Kang and with Jonathan Majors. They had likely just changed the way in which they were going to do that. And all of this makes even more sense when you consider that Disney was surprised at Jonathan Majors' verdict. Can't you guys see what's going on here? They were obviously in contact with Majors and with Majors' lawyer, and they have very smart people over at Disney that probably looked at the case, looked at the situation, and thought he would have all the charges dropped. And they had obviously invested a lot into Majors, so they were like, well, we probably should just hold on to this. That's what we got to do. So all of these little changes, everything that was going on behind the scenes indicates that they were really trying to move forward with Majors, with Kang, but perhaps just going to the Beyonder faster and maybe therefore putting more Kang variants into some of the other Marvel movies like a Shang-Chi 2, Doctor Strange 3, maybe even Spider-Man 4, maybe, I don't know, some of these other films. Now, what this also means is that Marvel had considered the possibilities of what they would do if Majors was found guilty. And I mean, how could they not, right? And I think them firing him as quickly as they had yesterday implies that they were ready to do so. They had made a contingency plan, likely drawn up this paperwork months ago. And I also think all of the stories, like from the Variety article, from THR, even Daniel's post last night on Patreon, they all indicate that Marvel doesn't know what they will do now, but they have two basic options. These same options they have had from the beginning: recast Kang and move forward, or pivot into Doctor Doom or another villain. So I say all of that to say that where we're at right now, Marvel doesn't know what they're going to do. I believe this is a worst case scenario for Marvel Studios and Disney, and I've heard they were shocked at the verdict. They didn't actually think this was going to happen, but now they stand in front of maybe the most important and difficult decision they have ever made, because it's not just that you have what's going on with Majors and the fact that he is no longer a part of Marvel or Disney, but it's also the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is on a major decline. Box office returns have severely diminished. Fan engagement has diminished. People are very frustrated. So this comes at maybe the lowest moment for the entire franchise. And so this decision is huge. And so anything from there is just speculation, right? And I'm going to give my speculation. You know, I think I saw last night that John Roca and Jeff Snyder were speculating that Marvel will just pivot into Doom, because you can't just do Kang, and even doing Kang in any way, shape, or form is going to evoke the ideas of this trial, all of this drama. It's just not a good look. And I absolutely agree with those guys. I agree with that point. I think it is super sound. And I believe Marvel was at least aware of this as a possibility, because again, there are reports that they had considered totally pivoting into Doctor Doom, making Doctor Doom a much bigger deal much sooner than he would have been because of the situation with Jonathan Majors. Now, I could see the argument for recasting, especially if you're just going to go right to the Beyonder. Like, it's just possible you, I don't know, do Denzel Washington as the Beyonder and loosely connect him back to Kang and just really do fun Beyonder Secret Wars multiversal stuff, because the Beyonder could really be different than Kang. Like, there's a way to kind of carry forward without keeping the Kang name, saying it over and over again, evoking all the stories from the past, and again, this crazy situation with Jonathan Majors. But I also just wanted to add here that I think doing Doctor Doom will inject some excitement and get some fans hyped up in this really low, dark moment for the franchise. So I almost think going with Doctor Doom solves two of your problems. It mitigates your exposure to this whole situation going forward. You're talking about questions from press, questions from fans, discussions online, all of it. You limit that, but you also give this whole new thread of speculation and of hype from Marvel fans that absolutely love Doctor Doom and want a lot more Doctor Doom stuff. So it's kind of a silver lining that one of their potential options here could legitimately be great. But guys, that is the latest. That is the truth so far as I know it and understand it from all of these different reports and the insiders that I talked to. I would love to know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. And I guess the most important question is, should they go with Doctor Doom or just recast Kang and move forward with that storyline? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.